Did you look on the table over there? Hey, I graded them yesterday, and if you had anything missing, I didn't grade it. So if you had numbers missing, if you had hadn't finished numbering it, I didn't grade it. If you hadn't finished drawing your headers, I didn't grade it. If you what else did I see a lot of? If you didn't have your book plate, I didn't grade it. And then the lines on the corner of the sketchbook, if you didn't do that, I didn't grade it. I think those are the most common reasons for having not graded your book. All right. Let's see. Oh, all right. Up here on the screen is what I've assigned so far for you guys. So make sure that you are getting this stuff done, that you are taking notes and making your sketches as we go through the lectures, that you are keeping up with soft chalks. Just curiosity, a show of hands, how many of you have done a soft chalk so far? All right. Okay. All right. What's a soft chalk? Is that what you're asking? Okay. Go into D2L and go to content, and then unit 1. Yeah, these are like the little digital worksheets for, yeah. That's what it was called, soft chalks, yeah. All right. All right, and I've also assigned for unit 1 the detailed drawing. All right, I explained the detailed drawing when I explained the sketchbook. All right, and so that's the 2-hour drawing of something in unit 1, and that's chapters 1 through 4. So you can get started on that anytime before the test. And so I think some people have already started. Has anybody already started their detailed drawing? Okay. Also, if your detailed drawing for the unit, if your chosen artwork for your beast is in unit 1, then you can use the same detailed drawing for both. If your beast is from unit 2, then you can use that detailed drawing for unit 2, and so on. Does that make sense? Yes, sir. Yeah. All right, and the beast. I've given you I've given you three assignments in the beast. I've told you to choose an artwork. I've given you a library assignment, and we have the 3 maps to do for the beast. And I think tomorrow I'll be giving you guys the article assignment for Unit 1 and the beast. All right, so this is what I have assigned so far, and you guys should be working on this stuff. And just out of curiosity, show of hands, does anybody have concrete plans of visiting the library? Like, so you've set a date and a time to get there, and it's not just, oh, I'll get there later, but I'm going this weekend. My mom's taking me, or whatever it is. All right. So I saw 3 or 4 hands go up. Okay. Don't blow this off. Don't wait till the end. All right. Are there any questions about this up here? All right. Let's get into the content. I'm going to go to chapter 2. Yes, ma'am.
So what if I didn't reserve a page for the detailed drawing? Because I started chapter 2.
Yeah, a detailed drawing can be anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't care where it is. If it's for your beast, it should be on copy paper because it's going to go into the final product, the beast. All right, we're going to turn off the lights. Let's get into your notes. If you haven't finished the front of your sketchbook, you can finish that later. All right. When we left off, we were looking at Sumerian art. We were in the middle of the Standard of Ur, were we not? All right, let's go to here and slideshow from current slide. We'll get rid of that. We'll do a presenter view. Thank you. I think this is where we left off. All right, so if we look closely at the soldiers that are in here, notice that they are very uniform. I want to point out again the twisted perspective. Look at the eyes up there. All right, it's a frontal view of the eye, but a profile view of the face. That is twisted perspective. The shoulders face us. In fact, I think there's a slide coming up where that shows this much better. But the shoulders are frontal, the legs are side. So it is a twisted perspective. All right, and here's a couple of artist renderings of how these soldiers would have looked, and they have found a helmet from one of these soldiers. All right, and here's what I'm talking about with that twisted perspective. And most people recognize this as like an Egyptian style, where once again, the head is in profile, the eye is on forward, the shoulders are forward, the hips and the legs are profile. So if we look at like the chest is profile, and the chest is frontal, and the head and the hips to the legs to the feet are all in profile, and that's what we got going on here. In the middle of the register, like we're in the middle register, and in the middle of it there's a battle taking place, and I think it's is it still the Lamash? And our guys and their guys. So our guys are conquering their guys. Our soldiers are standing upright and their soldiers are falling over. Our guys have armor and swords and shields and helmets, and their guys are naked. And then over on the right side of the middle register, we have our soldiers leading their soldiers off, and many of them are disrobed or nude. So if we go back here on the left side are our soldiers, and then there's the battle, and then their soldiers are going off the battle disrobed and in shame. All right, so let's go back up to the top register. All right, and on the top register, over on the left side, we have a chariot being pulled by either horses or donkeys. And then we have, these don't quite look like soldiers anymore. So I think these are priests. And here we have a tall guy, and then some more. And then over here on this side are the enemy soldiers being presented before the king. And then I want you to look at this guy right here. What's different about him? Yes, he's taller. He's so tall that he breaks outside the barrier of the whole scene. If this was a comic book, all right, this would be a black line around the scene, and then he would be on the outside of it. He is taller than everybody else. Why is he taller than everybody else? He's more important. That is correct. And that term is called hierarchical proportion. We will get to it in just a minute. All right, so here's a close-up view of this tall dude. And if anybody's ever seen the movie 300, all right, Xerxes was a tall leader. But what I love about this movie is they really show, I think they exaggerated the height of the leader. And so this right here, um, uh, is a good example. This movie is highly stylized and not so realistic. Yes, this was a real battle. It really did happen. Yes, a small number of Spartans fought off a large number of Persians. Uh, and yes, their leader was tall, but this is exaggerated. And I what I like about this is that I think the animators of the show, the artists of the show, uh, looked at or made a reference to these hierarchic proportions in ancient art, where more important people are seen as taller. All right, here's the term that I want you to write down. It's called hierarchic proportion. It's also called hierarchic scale. It's also called hierarchic size. I'm going to let you choose which term you want to write down for your notes. Maybe you can write hierarchic proportion and then write scale and size. It's your notes. But anyway, this is, by the way, can you tell what culture this artwork comes from? Starts with an E, ends with an N. Egyptian, yeah. And so, anyways, we have this tall dude, and then we have the small people around him. All right, and this is not a man and his children. This is that's his child, and that's his wife right there. His wife is so much smaller because he is important. What culture do you think this comes from? Africa. That's right. And the king in the middle is taller than those around him because he is so much more important. All right, it happens in Asia as well. Right, homeboy's a giant with a big giant smile on his face. All right, everybody else is smaller than him. The reason why is that he is so important. And so this is a this happens in many different cultures to show who is important and who is not. All right. And once again, they're bringing prisoners of war to the king. Now we have three different registers. We're on the side of peace now. All right. So there's three different registers right here, here, and here. And the bottom section, these are the laborers. You can see people carrying things on their back. We see beasts of burden that are being led. And then over here, we have some more laborers. We have people bringing animals in. And then at the top are the elites. And who is the most important elite? Yeah, the tall one, the this one right here, right, on the left side. Oh yeah, registers. All right. He is keeping everybody entertained. Entertained. Yeah. The question is, what labor did Waldo do? All right. So the men are carrying provisions, and art historians are wondering if this is war booty or possibly a bountiful harvest. If it's war booty, then this could be part two of the other side. So the other side was war. This side is peace, and after war comes peace. So it could be two parts of the same story, or it could be two different ideas. The yin and the yang. You can't have one without the other. So at the bottom section, we'll get as we have men bringing animals, fish, for a banquet. And the banquet is at the top of the top register. It's the king and musician. And they're also wondering, is this a victory celebration after the battle? All right. And in the middle register, they have more things. Bringing animals. And we got this guy carrying fish. And I just thought it was funny because that guy's hands are going to smell bad later on. All right, and then at the top we have a banquet of the king, and there are musicians there. And once again, it's wondering, is this a victory celebration? And you can tell the tall dude right there is the ruler, the king, because he is bigger than everybody else. Even seated, he is taller than those that are standing around him. And then also look at what he is holding in his hand. They have found cups from the site that the standard of Ur was found. So the thing that he's holding is found at the same place where this was found, the whole standard of Ur. And we have servants here on the left and like high officials or elites on the right. And then we have musicians over here on the right side. Most likely a lyre player and a singer. Now, notice the shape of this. All right. It's, what do you call a four-sided shape like this? Is it trapeze? All right. Thank you very much. All right. It's been a long time since I've had geometry. The 80s. All right. So, and then it has this bull's head on the front. And that is similar to this that's been found at a site nearby. You guys know the song School's Out for Summer? All right. Yeah, well, Alice Cooper is mispronouncing it. It's School's Out for Sumer, right? So he's talking in that song, he's singing about Mesopotamia. All right, I want you to know what gold leaf is. We're going to be talking about gold leaf throughout this semester. These are very thin sheets of gold used for decoration. So when you go to an art museum and you might stand in front of an image like this, it looks like gold paint. They painted on it with liquid gold, like, or paint that is the color of gold. That's not true. They didn't paint it, they just covered it with a thin sheet of actual gold. So in this illustration on the right, you have a guy he's holding a little jar of glue, and in his other hand he has these, looks like tweezers, and is holding a thin sheet of this is gold leaf, and he has a box of gold leaf right here. And then you can see that the image that he is painting on or attaching the gold leaf to, the orangey bit is the part that hasn't had the gold leaf attached yet. And so this is what it looks like in a photograph. All right. Gold is a very unique substance. And the reason why people like gold, not only because it's shiny and pretty, but it can hold together very thin. You can make very thin strips of gold and pieces of gold, and it still carries its shape. Excuse me. So again, what they'll do is they will cover this guy's making a gold leaf frame. So he has the frame and he's putting gold leaf on top of it, and it's going to look like a solid gold frame at the end, but really it's just a thin sheet of gold. So I was getting to the point where gold can hold its cohesion very thin. It's been said that the gold leaf, they've made gold leaf that is 1 atom thick, right? That sounds insane, but when I mentioned this fact, other people said, yes, I've heard that too. So they take gold and they make it extremely thin, and then it can cover more area. So I once went to a gold exhibit at the Houston Museum of Natural Science, and they had this little tiny fleck of, or like a nugget of gold, and they had this small closet, and the small closet was wallpapered with gold leaf made from that tiny little nugget of gold. So I'm going to show you guys a quick video. It's a 3-minute video of how they make gold leaf. Oh, it's made in the 50s. It's very dated, but it gives you an appreciation of how gold leaf is made.
Now put to its most artistic use, the beating and rolling of bars of gold, each one worth 1,000 pounds, into the shearer's gold leaf. At this factory in Riceley, Middlesex, first stage is the casting of the gold bar. Most of us would be perfectly happy with just a bar of the stuff, but because of its brilliance of effect and remarkable durability, gold is put to more practical uses. And that gold bar we saw, after being beaten by hammer, is now rolled with increasing pressure into a ribbon 300 feet long and 1/1000th of an inch thick, and then cut into squares. This is an industry that goes back to the earliest times. In fact, gold beating by the Egyptians of 2,000 to 3,000 BC can still be seen untarnished and unbroken on mummy cases in the British Museum. Craftsmanship is still the key factor, and techniques haven't changed much, except that today gold is beaten to 1/10 the consistency of ancient times, believe it or not, to 4 millionths of an inch. From original gold bar to the finished leaf takes 7 stages, involving several quartering and beating processes, so eventually laid side by side, the leaves from one bar would cover over 9,000 square feet. Every process requires skill of the highest order, but experts like the machine hammer foreman can check thickness from sight alone. Notice, by the way, that the leaves are protected by skins of venom, specially made from the intestines of an ox, and the whole lot enclosed in bands of parchment, making what is called a niche. Work in every aspect of gold leaf is so precise and delicate that a hare's foot is used for powdering or cleaning the protective skins, which, because of their strength and resilience, are more valuable than the gold leaf they hold for beating. They're even smelled from time to time to check their condition, which varies in different. Strange as it seems, the traditional skill of hand beating is no slower than the mechanized way, and considerably more precise. A man has to be apprenticed for several years before he's considered expert, and 77-year-old Joe Woodward has been doing it for 63, and using the same hammer.
They can't even touch it with their hands.
The finished leaf is cut into 3.5-inch squares, not by knife, because the gold in this stage would stick to steel, but by sharpened bamboo. The leaf is now ready for use. Outdoors on landmarks like the cross on the dome of St. Paul's and the gates of Buckingham Palace, and inside in such arts as gilding picture frames. Altogether, a remarkable transformation. Gold leaf, less than a wavelength of light in thickness, a little known but true.
All right, so I hope that gives you an appreciation for gold leaf, and it's also in recent times it's trendy for a fancy dessert. You can eat gold leaf, all right, and the gold leaf on your food is so thin that it has very little monetary value, or it's not like you can take it to the gold exchange and sell it for lots of money. So, anyways, gold leaf, everybody. I taught you that so I could show you this artwork right here. The bull's head is gold leaf. And it is this part that is the original of this lyre. The rest of it is reconstructed. There we go. There's the gold leaf. What kind of animal is this? Oh, yeah. It says in the title. Yeah, bull. But notice the beard, right? Why does the bull have a beard? It's the same instrument that we saw in our last artwork. And there are 4 different versions of this bull-headed lyre. All right. And let's see. And they're in 4 different museums. One of them is silver right here. And then, like I said, these other 2, these are reconstructions, and this one is just the original part. Anyways, yeah, beards, and especially in the ancient world, commemorate like wisdom or virility, like manliness and strength. Bulls are a symbol of strength. It is a wood head covered in gold leaf, and underneath it has inlay, which it has composite figures. That means human and animal mixed together. And art historians wondering, are these creatures from the afterlife? All right, so what's unusual about these creatures? Yeah, they have people faces. Look at that. Also, it's unusual to have a frontal face in artwork at this time. Mostly it is a profile view. But this is an image of a bearded man controlling 2 bearded bulls. So this is the traits of the king. This says the king is strong. Like I said, bull is a symbol of strength. And like I said, it's unusual to have a forward-facing portrait or a face. Most ancient depictions of heads are a profile depiction. All right, the next one down. I just think it's weird. We have a dog wearing a dagger and carrying a table, followed by a lion bringing beverages. And art historians think that the message is that king rules not just over the city, but at nature itself. And each of these animals may represent a virtue or an ability in man. Like a dog would be a symbol of loyalty, and a lion, courage. And then we have a bear, which is unusual in ancient art, and a donkey playing a lyre. Look at, he's playing a lyre, the same lyre that this is a part of. Like it is what it shows that it is. And then we have this scorpion guy. And it could be the message is that this guy is somebody you don't want to mess with. And it just reminded me of the Scorpion King movie that everybody makes fun of. It's a bad movie. And the gazelle is bringing goblets. All right. All right. Are there any questions about Sumerian art? Okay, we're going to go into our next section. This chapter, it got too big for one PowerPoint, so I broke it up into 3. We are still in chapter 2. All right, chapter 2, part 2. Let me fix this. All right, here we go. We're going to go to Acadia or Akkad. There's a place called Acadia. In fact, I showed you a map where there was Sumerian in purple, and right next to it was Akkad. All right, and so in I think a turquoise color. So it was a place. I am unfamiliar with the you said poem. Yeah.
Arcadia is used as like a term like Earth is paradise.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's funny because it's well, I mean if it's Mesopotamia, if it's like the land between the two rivers and it's fertile and has lots of like trees and farmland and stuff, yes, I could see as a paradise because everything else is the desert and awful. All right, we're going to look at the victory steel of Naram Sin. Mr. Locke, can you get the chairs that are next to you, and can you get the chairs that are next to you? Thank you. All right, so steel being a flat, large rock with images on it. If we get a closer look at it, now we have looked at artwork that has registers in it. Like artwork has been organized by registers, and that's not happening in this one. There are clearly multiple levels. It's a vertical image where there's things on top of other things, but it's not organized in registers. At the top, we have a king. I can tell he's a king, but he's wearing the king hat. The king's defeat of the Lullaby, which is a people of Iranian mountains to the east. This guy is the grandson of the Sargon, and he leads his army up the mountain. And as he leads his army up the mountain, the enemies fall and die and beg for mercy. That's pretty badass. So you can see this guy has it looks like a spear in his neck, and he's dying back. And then we have other people that are on the ground as he walks over them. And then down below him, his troops are orderly. Look at, they're all like uniform and similar. They are orderly going up the mountain. The enemy troops are disorderly and falling down the mountain. This is the first time that a king appears as a god in Mesopotamian art. His horned helmet is that of the gods, and that is the symbol that tells us he is a god. Now, if we look at his head in profile, does that mean that the helmet that he's wearing has a horn growing out the front and one out the back? Or is it more likely they're growing out the sides like a bull? So then what we're looking at is a composite view. We're looking at a frontal view of the helmet and a side view of the head. And then up in the sky, there are 3 stars. Can you find the third star? Yeah. You can see this little triangle piece right up here. and this little square piece, that means that there was another star up there, right? These represent a Shamash, the sun god watching over the battle. So, like I said, there are no registers. This one has registers right here, but this one doesn't have registers. It's a lot more fluid and not as organized, or it's not as rigidly organized. They both tell a story. All right, and then we're going to move on to the ziggurat of Ur. The temple at the top no longer survives. But the ziggurat is in quite good shape compared to the other ziggurat that we looked at. This is what it would have looked like in the heyday, or an artist representation of it. I think it might be a bit exaggerated, but totally cool, though, I think. Here's a model of what it would look like. Another model. And then my Minecraft model, right? That's Minecraft, right? All right. So then we can compare it to the previous one right there, the one on the left. What happened? Like, why does one survive and the other one doesn't? And they think it's because of the increased slope on the walls helped prevent puddles. And then just a fun history fact, when the Iraq war happened, and American air power was bombing all kinds of stuff in Saddam's army. He thought it'd be really clever to stash his planes right next to the ziggurat because he knew that the Americans wouldn't bomb the planes because they were so close to a historical site, and he was wrong. What he didn't understand, or what was new about the Iraq War in '91, was smart weapons. That in wars past, you had to drop a whole bunch of bombs over a big area to hopefully hit the one thing that you're trying to hit. But in this war, the smart bombs were able to hit exactly what they wanted to hit. So the Americans were able to hit the planes that were parked next to the ziggurat without hitting the ziggurat. All right, moving on to Babylon. All right, we're going to look at the stele with the law code of Hammurabi. Those of you that had WAP might have taken this, or did you have a world history yet? Okay, you start talking about this in your class? Yeah. All right, so let's get a closer look at it. And so it looks like a giant finger with a nail at the top. These are the written code of laws, and these are penalties for laws that are broken. And if we get closer, they're written all over the stele and on the back. And if we get close, what do we call that style of writing? Sanskrit. Looks like cuneiform. Am I wrong? So your other class says Sanskrit? You're just guessing? All right, cuneiform, yeah. All right, so one thing I want to point out is the image that is in the at the top. And we have King Hammurabi raising his hand in respect to Shamash, the sun god. And Shamash has flames coming out of his shoulders. These strips of bacon right here, all right, are not strips of bacon. They are flames coming out. The king is offering the laws to the god. So with his hand up, that's a sign of respect, offering the laws. And now the Shamash, or the god, is holding this object right here. It is called the rod and ring. These emblems are the measuring tools the rod is a measure, like a yardstick. And the rope is a measure used in temple building. Sometimes it's described as a coil of measuring string and a yardstick. Other theories that they are the shepherd's crook and nose rope. And this image of the rod and ring pops up all over Mesopotamian art. All right, we have this goddess right here, and she is holding rods and rings. We have other images showing rods and rings. But back to the stele of Hammurabi, that god right there is Shamash, the sun god. Now let's take a look at the code. There's lots of laws in here, and this stele is famous for some of the laws that are in there. The most famous being, if a man puts out the eye of another man, his eye shall be put out. So the law or the rule of an eye for an eye comes from the stele of Hammurabi. Here are some other laws. If he kills a man's slave, he shall pay on a third of a mina. All right, these are very specific laws. If someone steals property from a temple, he will be put to death, as will the person who receives the stolen goods. If a man rents his boat and the boat is wrecked, then the renter shall replace the boat with a new one. If a married woman dies before bearing any sons, her dowry shall be repaid to her father. But if she gives birth to sons, the dowry shall belong to them. And if a man's wife is caught in bed with another man, both will be tied up and thrown in the water. All right, they didn't mess around. That one on the left is one of my favorites. Decree that bartenders who water down beers shall be executed. That's funny. All right. And in this cartoon, he says, I finished my code. The laws of the kingdom are carved in the stele. You are the chief guard and use this to maintain the order in the city. And so He uses it to just hit people over the head. All right, we're moving on to Hittite art. Hey, it's 8:02. This is a perfect place to stop for the day. So we are going to end here. Are there any questions about anything that we have discussed?